Welcome to the Nerd Party.
They can travel anywhere in time and space.
Right. This is gonna be fun.
Off we go into time and space!
Welcome to Time and Space, the Nerd Party's dedicated Doctor Who podcast. I'm Jessica Nunn.
And I'm her co-host and still husband, Phillip Gilfus. Happy anniversary!
Happy anniversary!
That's right. We're spending our second wedding anniversary recording a podcast.
730 days.
1,000 men. No, that's not.
It's different.
It's different.
That's different.
Well, let's see. You got me 2 Blu-rays. You got me a Blu-ray of Cradle Will Rock, a Tim Robbins film. And you got me the complete series of Community that we've been slowly watching on Blu-ray, but now we can watch on Blu-ray together, along with all the extras.
Yay. Excellent choices.
Yep, and then we just finished watching The Avengers, the first Avengers movie. So we're going to be seeing the Endgame this Saturday.
Yes.
With all of its Doctor Who people.
With all of its Doctor Who people, yes.
So it'll all come together.
Theoretically.
Right. Well, because we are having our anniversary, I thought we'd do a little more of a romantic theme for our topic today. So we're going to be talking about companion romances in New Who. So would you like to lead us off, darling, with, I'm sure, your favorite romance?
Yes, we will start with the first romance, Mickey/Ricky and Rose.
So what did you think of that relationship?
It never felt a lot like a relationship. And I don't think we got to see it as a relationship, really. I mean, we don't see a whole lot of romance. We don't see he just happens to be there and happens to be your boyfriend.
Yeah, but I think it's probably one of the most realistic relationships. I'm not saying the real, but in as much as
there's no romance.
Well, no, because I mean, she's sort of, nothing against Mickey, but she's sort of settled with him. I mean, he's into her.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a sort of complicated thing where everyone's on the same level, and so she's taking advantage of him or taking him for granted, and he's always there for her. I mean, and they're kids, of course, the way that's played, but I think it's sort of the way it's played is sort of quote unquote a realistic relationship.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not saying a positive one, but
Yeah, I see that. Small town girl settled for the small town guy,
right?
And that was fine until it wasn't.
Yeah, because it almost seemed like, I don't know, I'm sort of projecting that maybe they were just good friends growing up, and then it sort of just settled into the, I guess we're dating.
Yeah.
And then, I guess we're, and that's it. And then, because, I mean, she seems more friendly than romantic, where he seems more romantic than friendly.
Yes.
And then, she disappears with the doctor, and he's kind of cool with it. I mean, he's not, but he is. It's like, oh, you've been gone, Rose, but you're here now, so let's hang out, and go on a date or something. And she's like, yeah, I'm not really. And
I got bigger things to...
Because, I think when, it'd be something to watch again. I was at the girl in the fireplace. But anyway, when Mickey sort of became a companion, kind of full on, or at least, reserve status, there's those times where it's sort of like awkward because, is Rose and Mickey together and the doctor's the third wheel, or is Mickey the third wheel, or is both true and, not true at the same time? And so,
yeah.
I mean, you see Rose kind of confused about...
Yes, and it's a lot of awkward. The relationship has sort of run its course, but nobody really wants to say it.
Yeah. And I think that's, I'm not remembering all the stories in my head at once, but I mean, I think Mickey slowly realizes it and kind of makes the move of like, okay, this isn't real. I mean, that's sort of, I guess, when, he goes to the parallel world or whatever, but...
Yeah, and finds his new purpose, yeah.
And it goes with
and ultimately his new...
identity.
And love.
Well, that's I suppose we'll have, I mean, that's a transition. We'll talk about it in 2 seconds. But, like, he sort of settles in the real relationship between him and his grandmother, and that sort of focuses on our real relationship. And then, when he's like, oh, I think because she's alive in that universe or something like that. And sort of that gives him more of a grounded. And he's like, well, this is maybe the real world. But yes, eventually he ends up with Martha, which is
weird.
Ridiculous. We don't, I mean, this wasn't on the list, but I mean, we could talk about sort of one-off romances. I mean, Martha has, like, when she travels the Earth in the two-parter, and I think she has some guy that she's kind of with. And then I think there's references that she's maybe engaged when we see her again, like after she's done, but we see her again. But we don't ever see the full-on until we see...
And not to forget her relationship with Shakespeare.
That's true. But he was open to anyone, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah, but that's what Shakespeare was.
Yes, for many audiences. So who's next on our list?
Next up is Rose and the Doctor.
Right, so perhaps I don't know, I was going to say controversial, but maybe it's your thing that's not controversial. But that was, sort of a slow burn as well. I mean, I'm trying to remember how much I knew. Obviously, I didn't watch this live, per se. By the time I came on, I think Tennant was in his probably second season with Martha or something. I don't remember. But in any case, I actually remember. Yeah, so anyway, it may have been like the third season. But anyway, I mean, what do you think of that? Because you came to it, I guess, naturally, right? Spoiled, per se, right?
Yeah. I think that Rose has a tendency to get herself in unhealthy relationships. And makes bad choices. Because this was such a codependency kind of thing on her part anyway. It's an interesting shift from Mickey, who fancied her way more than she fancied him, to then completely flip to the Doctor, and I think she fancied him way more than he fancied her.
Right. Yeah, and, maybe there's the larger topic of, the Doctor's, sexuality, I suppose, but at least, predication for romance or not romance, seems to be a somewhat asexual figure in the classic era, and even New Who to an extent.
Yeah, no, I would say...
Because, I've never bought... The 11th River relationship is it's flirty, and we're led to believe there's sexy time, but it's hard to believe it, actually.
It's hard to, and this sounds weird, but it's hard to imagine it in your head.
Yes. So, because it's just not the Doctor. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't...
I think it's almost more of a David Tennant thing. I think because Tennant has sort of this romantic...
But again,
it
feels like this courtly love thing. Mm-hmm. It's romantic, and it's flirty, but it's not requited.
Yeah.
It's certainly not consummated. Same thing. I can't picture the Doctor shagging anybody, any of the Doctors.
Virgin Queen, apparently.
Rumor has it. But again, all of that's a little bit wink, wink, nudge, nudge kind of thing. It's never a...
Yeah, hot and heavy.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm sure that the Doctor who disappears into Rose's timeline still isn't shagging her.
I was listening to TARDIS that 10.5 apparently is one way to call him.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I like it, 10.5.
Or was it Hansy? I think it was the other name for it.
Oh, bless.
Yeah. So, what do you kind of see from the Doctor's point of view of Rose? Just he got used to it, or?
Oh, I think he cares very much for her, but he's 1,000 years old.
Right.
This is just a blink. He's seen too much. Mm-hmm. I don't think that he's capable of that sort of relationship. Mm-hmm. That's my take on it anyway.
Yeah. It sort of runs the trope, if you will, at least in the vampire stories, of the vampire and the young girl. Because Rose is supposed to be like 19 or 20. And, as you say, the Doctor's 1,000 or 900 or whatever. Who never knows.
Yeah.
But old, other words. And so, it is hard to imagine, like I said, with David Tennant playing, I don't mean this in a good or bad way, value neutral, playing the Doctor as a lowercase r, maybe capitalized r, romantic figure. Like, you imagine, like, the first Doctor, or the second Doctor, or the third Doctor, because that's who that is. I mean, being with Rose, and it's like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. In fact, in some places, that oogs me out a lot.
Well, fifth Doctor, if you need an age thing. But yeah, even the 11th Doctor with Rose doesn't seem natural, really. And again, each Doctor is their own Doctor. Imagine the 13th Doctor with Rose. There you go. But anyway, it's, yeah, I don't know. It's one of the things where I think the story makes it feel right, but then you think about it, and, if you really think, well, I mean, in my opinion, if you think about it, maybe the Doctor's almost sort of imitating behavior, or he's doing what he thinks he needs to do to keep her. I mean, he enjoys her. And I don't know, because then it gets into the Doctor's psychology. How does he see humans? Are they just a flash in the pan to him? Does he have real, true connection?
Yes, I think he does. I think he absolutely has real, true connection. I just don't think it's of the sexual nature. Mm-hmm. I don't, yeah, no. If I were going to see a Doctor relationship, I think it would be with somebody like one of the Romanos or something like that. Somebody who has that experience, at least to an extent. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of romantic Time Lords, and I'm coming up short, because obviously they're mostly in the classical era. But because even and this is getting off topic, but even the Master, which one, of course, the 10th Doctor's Master, with, I can't remember her name, his companion, who was his wife. But that was really still more of a companion thing, a sort of wife in name only. Like, I mean, obviously he's very sadistic, being the Master, but, he's,
Yeah. Yeah. Now.
Bad example, obviously, to use.
Doctor and Missy?
So.
I could get behind.
Yeah. If they had stayed together longer, him. Of course, that's a little. I don't even know what the analogy would be. I was about to say it's a little Pygmalion, but that's not true, because they're on an equal status. It's not where he's over her. I mean, even though he's trying to reform her, quote unquote.
Yeah, no, I would say his relationship with Rose is much more Pygmalion. Mm-hmm.
The Rhine and Spine.
Hey, perfect accent for it. Come on.
Yeah. So, yeah, Rose got her 10.5, and who knows what happened, I suppose.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Cool. All right. Next we have perhaps our more relatable couple, and that is the married couple in the TARDIS, Rory and Amy.
Yes, whom I love very much. Also a little bit of an uneven balance, at least at the beginning.
Yeah, I think the way it's introduced, obviously, Rory's just the big old nerd, and Amy's all the not has it together, but at least the more, what's the word I'm looking for? Model-y kind of,
confidence.
I guess, yeah. Has it together in that sense, not necessarily in the life plan sense.
Yeah, no, she does run away from her wedding.
Right, yeah. And she's very, she plays it young. But I think as the series grows and Rory grows, we see that he has quite the inner strength, obviously, the boy who waited, to get things done.
And she loves him very much, particularly as they go on. That feels like a relationship that grows quite organically.
Yeah, and like for instance, I mean, it's a direct point or story point in the Asylum of the Daleks when Rory's like, "Oh yeah, everyone knows I love you more than you love me," and she's like, smacks him and says, "Don't you dare!" And so,
Yeah, and as he grows into his hero status, she realizes it much more.
Yeah, and you can see their relationship grow because maybe it's sort of the same thing with not as bad, but to an extent, it's Mickey Rose, best mates, and I guess we're just boyfriend and girlfriend now. I guess however that happened, and we sort of see the flashback with Mel. Of, he's always holding a torch for her, and then Amy just realizes it. But then we don't ever see...
She just realizes that he's straight.
But then I guess we don't necessarily see Amy going for him. It's just, well, he likes me, so I must like him, I guess. Yeah.
But then they find that within themselves whilst on the TARDIS. And so we get to watch it happen. I mean, quite possibly we could have seen that with Rose and Mickey if it had gone further.
Right. Because, there's almost, you almost get the feeling that once Amy's with the Doctor, she could probably call the whole thing off with Rory. But then sort of having him around and the Doctor playing matchmaker, to the engaged couple. And, they definitely seem to grow closer, and they both get their confidence. Rory, secretly secretly feels that Amy's really not into him and was really into the Doctor, but then, we slowly see that Amy is going to Rory. Well, maybe not at first, but over time is going to him. And then Amy sees more of what Rory can do. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's it. As he gets his confidence, as he becomes that hero, she realizes the strength that he has, and that is important to her.
Yeah, and then we sort of see the married couple in the TARDIS, after they get married. So you sort of get them sort of living that married life, and the sacrifices they try to do, but they're still together, so,
have a baby that they don't get to raise.
Yeah, so you have that kind of crazy storyline, but they still are together, making it work, and then the way they end is, of course, they end it together. Mm. So,
And then theoretically have another baby?
I think they adopted, is what the...
Oh, is that what the...
Yeah, the alligator, because she couldn't have kids anymore, because of whatever her name is.
Yeah, I know you mean.
Yeah, sorry, I can never remember her name. Even we just listened to a huge Big Finish about it.
I know.
But anyway, so yeah, I think they were sort of a model couple, because as realistic as it can be, you get to see that evolution.
Yes.
In the relationship.
Yeah, I like it.
Mm-hmm. All right, next we get Clara and Danny.
Yeah. Speaking of uneven relationship, they're all a little uneven.
Well, I don't know about that one. I mean, what do you think? Why do you think they're uneven?
Because I never get the impression that Clara's that into him.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not at all my favorite. I mean, we've talked a little bit about Danny a couple of weeks ago. But I think, even Danny aside, the way they do Clara is just so odd. I mean, this whole, they go on, 15 first dates, and they keep yelling at each other and leaving, and then they come back and try again, and they yell at each other. I'm like, maybe it just isn't working.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just accept that. I don't know why we're forcing the romance, because it seems like you guys just don't work together. And then it seemed like, to me, and whatever, you can read into it, I guess, and maybe we just need to rewatch it again.
Yeah.
But it seemed to me they sort of rushed into, we're dating, and now we're madly in love. I'm like, I missed that middle part.
Yeah, and then she's not telling him when she's sneaking off to the TARDIS, and it just, yeah. And maybe, I think you're right. I think we should do an episode on Danny, and go back and just really watch those, suffer through them.
Right. Slings and arrows. And, yeah. Because I think Clara, she's a interesting character, but I think she... I don't know. I'm trying to think of her type is what I'm trying to think. Because I think she obviously fell for the 11th Doctor, but not in a Martha way. I don't know. I guess, how is Clara getting her romantic needs fulfilled? Because she obviously works very well with the 11th Doctor. And it sort of is her galactic boyfriend, but in a work boyfriend, in a work husband kind of way.
Yeah.
But obviously, I don't know. I'm sort of going deep into it. These characters, theoretically, especially they're younger, we're going to have, wants and desires and needs for romance. And so how are they getting it? Where are they finding that? And so, is she I guess it's Danny just comes along and,
You'll do.
Yeah.
And maybe that's my issue with Clara and Danny, is that I don't know what Danny brings to the table.
Right.
In terms of the show and the progression of the show. I feel like there were some false starts. Mm-hmm. You've got this whole military background, PTSD maybe thing, but then they don't follow through.
Right.
And then you've got that they're in a relationship, but that doesn't seem to change really anything that Clara does.
And then when you sort of do the future dude they meet, who's clearly, right? Or heavily implied, or, I mean, what else could it be? Their great, whatever, grandson. And I'm trying to remember, it seemed like it was not early in the relationship, but early enough we were like, well, I guess this goes somewhere. But then, of course, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And so how do you make that work? And the reason is you don't, of course.
And that's the thing. They have all of these things that it's like they're chucking things at a wall and nothing's sticking. So they try something else.
And then they kill them off, and you're like, yeah, I guess that's sad and stuff.
But I'm not that sad.
Yeah, and apparently Clara's like, then throwing keys to the TARDIS in the lava, and okay, I guess.
Yeah.
Sure.
I feel you, girl.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that I do.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe is that a pattern there where they're trying to sort of get the third wheel? So we had the Mickey Rose doctor, and then we had the Rory Amy doctor. So it's like with Clara, and now we need someone to third wheel her with the doctor. I guess they don't feel, comfortable. I mean, I get it. Two people, in as much as that is a Doctor Who tradition, of course, in as much as it isn't as well, because we've had multiple companions. But the New Who is sort of getting into the and I'm using classic in sort of a whatever version, the classic sort of Doctor companion. And I guess maybe they're always trying to throw a third wheel in there.
But I think you can do that without needing it to be romantic. I mean, a classic Who is a perfect example of, the people in the TARDIS don't have to be romantically involved to make it interesting.
And I mean, is that just a 21st century storytelling? Like, can you have a TV show that doesn't have romance in it?
Yes. I don't know where yet.
Name them.
Well, we just watched The Avengers.
Right, that's true. But, I mean, The Avengers in and of itself doesn't, but the individual movies do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have Captain and Peggy, and you have Thor and Jane, you have... Well, no, Potts was in there, so Tony and...
Yeah, but it's like she's at the very beginning, and that's the
And then he makes the call at the end,
yeah.
and we're supposed to feel sad, so, yeah.
Yeah, and again, I mean, if you want to go completely off tangent, never 100% sure I'm buying Stark and Potts.
Right, well, yeah.
Nor am I sure about Thor and Jane.
Right.
And Captain America and Peggy, that doesn't work.
Well, yeah, I mean, he yes. Time and space.
She's dead now.
Yes. Well, no, she's not yet.
Not yet. Not in the one that we just watched. But,
right.
She will be. And then they chuck her grandniece at him, and that's creepy.
Right.
So...
Life's complicated, darling.
Yeah, I'm getting that. But
say
it doesn't
that.
have to be romantic. You and I are a perfect example.
Right. I mean, you pass on, your grandniece is going to start looking good, so...
Oh, trust me, with that sort of attitude, you're definitely going first.
As a story writer, because I think of, and this is sort of tangent as well, Girl in the Fireplace, where you have a romantic story with a doctor, which, doesn't always happen. Mm-hmm. But they play, and if that actually worked, in as much as that does.
But even that isn't...
It's more of an intellectual intercourse.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's all very courtly love, romance,
But I'm saying that the storyteller, the story writing, the TV instinct to find a romantic story, that's an engaging story. And I'm not saying do it all the time, but, if they go too long, are they fighting for themselves? So, we're not skipping ahead because there's no list for this, for the 13th Doctor. There is no romance. I'm thinking this off the top of my head, right? And there's no...
Right.
I'm sure there's probably a romance somewhere in one of those episodes. I mean, sort of like, oh Lord, I'm forgetting, The Demons of Punjab, of course, about a wedding, but, in as much as there is romance, but none of the main characters have yet had a romantic story. I mean, other than if you want to read into stuff. But, I mean... Well,
and Grace and...
Oh, that's true. That's true. You're right.
Graham.
Yeah. That's true.
But even then, romance isn't...
That's the relational.
The end game. Yeah. And I think that's when it works better. Girl in the Fireplace, romance isn't the end game. Danny and Clara, that was all they got.
Yeah.
And so chucking it in and not doing anything with it. And that's why I think Rory and Amy are much more interesting, because their romance isn't the end game. It affects the things that they do. Mm-hmm. We get to watch their relationship evolve, but it's part of bigger stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just not sure. It's not with Mickey and Rose. It's definitely not with Danny and Clara. Maybe you could argue with Rose and Doctor.
Right.
But even then, to me, the I love you when she disappears still doesn't feel like I'm in love with you. I've fancied you all this time.
Right. Technically, he disappears, but yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I know that.
Yeah. Well,
and so then when he goes to live with her, when 10.5 goes to the alternative world, I'm still going, really?
Because he says, I love you. The 10.5 does.
Yeah. And
but he's part human, so.
Yeah.
Billy Piper's not bad, so, why not?
No, she's absolutely... Well, but that's the thing, That's not what...
I want to know what love is. I'm sure that's what he's saying to her.
Yeah?
And then she sang her song to him.
Did she? What did she say?
The Billy Piper song. Because we want to.
Oh, dear. This has gotten off pissed quickly. So, yeah, I think it's lazy.
Yeah, it's off. I mean, and again, I'm not accusing the writers here of anything, but I'm offering that I wonder, without knowing how far ahead they're thinking of their stories, is it the crutch of romance because then there's going to be this powerful loss? So, for instance, Rose disappears. Now the Doctor feels really sad because he was in love with her. Danny and Clara, we want to make Clara feel really sad and go through this whole thing, so we're going to kill Danny. And then, so it's all,
And see, again, I just think that's lazy writing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that way. And we've seen some great dynamics between companions that aren't romantic.
Right.
In Classic Who, in the 13th Doctor, we've seen these fantastic relationships that can be much more organic and don't have to be...
Yeah, and I think the familial... this is getting off tangent, but the familial relationship with, quote-unquote, grandson and grandfather in 13th is an interesting new approach. But at least, as far as just like random person and a Doctor, so then you have something to build on or something to play with. And so, or friends, right? People, you have Ryan and, who are friends, so at least they,
sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, they're acquaintances at the
they're
beginning,
school chums.
But yeah, not necessarily the same thing.
Yeah.
Or like Ian and Barbara.
Yeah, co-workers. Which, I think it's funny, not that I have watched all of it, but, with that one, it's like, there's a romance, but it's so unstated and unshown, you've just built it in your head, whether it exists or not.
Yeah.
Because they're just hanging around each other, and I guess it's just people of the similar age, and so being heteronormative. So any other thoughts about companion romances?
No, I don't think so. I'm going to stick with mine for right now.
Okay. Any worries that we'll see some romantic storylines next series?
I don't know about worries. I think that, you could do something if you wanted to go, as you mentioned, heteronormative, if they end up doing something with Yaz and Ryan. If it happened organically.
Yeah, I'm not really for it per se, but
no, I don't think I am either. But
I'm not very compatible, is what I'd say.
Yeah, but if you're going to do that, it has to be organic. It can't just be, hey, I woke up and decided
I fancy you.
You're the one.
Yeah,
and now we're expected to... Because if that happens, we will know immediately that one of them's going to die.
Yeah, and again, that's using romance to predate loss. Sort of the whole, it's a version of Will They, Won't They. There's a Will They, Won't They in the classic sort of sitcoms, and they get together, and then the show sucks. I think that's at least the trope. But there's the Will They, Won't They, where they finally get together, and then the person dies.
Yeah.
Or one of them dies.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of... there's a million examples, but Angel... with Wesley and Fred, and Wesley had been pining over Fred, and they finally got together, and then she dies 2 episodes later. Or that episode, and so, or in So that's no fun either.
No, no. So maybe we keep the romance out of the TARDIS for a little while.
Yeah, and I mean, you could talk Captain Jack, because I was trying to think of non-heteronormative now that we used that word examples. But I mean, there's not. I'm sort of talking about sort of a little more long term that we haven't really seen. Yeah. Yeah,
and again, it's understood about that Jack's going around and shagging everything.
Yeah.
But we don't really. I mean, he doesn't fall in love.
Yeah, I was just sort of thinking what his relationship with the Doctor is.
I think same thing. It doesn't feel like something as simple as...
Yeah, because, not to get deep into it, I think Jack's a top, and so the Doctor is more of a... You know, he looks up to the Doctor, and so that's not necessarily his go-to.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
All right.
Made you think about that, didn't I?
Yep.
And with that, we're going to go into the TARDIS library.
Whoosh, 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 whoosh.
When you close your eyes,
I go to the library.
go to the library now.
Now, we recently went on a long road trip for a little bit of Easter anniversary celebration. And so we listened to 2 8th Doctor Big Finish adventures, which I thought was good to do 2, because I think they almost have the value of 1. So we did 2 different ones. Of course, we're going in order here of our sort of listening to the 8th Doctor's adventures. And so we did The Stones of Venice, which was released March of 2001, and Minuet in Hell, which was April 2001. So these are the long synopses here, but I'll try to...
It's both of them together.
Yeah, so I'll do the first one. I'll do Stones. You can do Minuet in a minute. Okay. So for The Stones of Venice, the Doctor and Charlie decide to take a well-deserved break from the monotony of being chased, shot at, and generally suffering antisocial behavior at the hands of others. And so they end up in Venice, well into Charlie's future, as the great city prepares to sink beneath the water for the last time. Which would be a momentous, if rather dispiriting event to witness in and of itself. However, the machinations of a lovesick aristocrat, a proud art historian, and a rabid high priest of a really quite dodgy cult combine to make Venice's swan song a night to remember. And then there's the rebellion by the web-footed amphibious underclass, the mystery of a disappearing corpse, and the truth behind a curse going back further than curses usually do. The Doctor and Charlie are forced to wonder just what they have gotten themselves involved with this time. So, yeah, that was The Stones of Venice.
Yes.
Random, because I did glance at it before we started. The High Priest, Vincenzo, whatever his name is.
Okay.
Mark Gaddis.
Okay.
Yeah. He's sort of doing a deep voice.
Yeah.
So what'd you sort of think of this one?
I liked this one. Mm-hmm. I'm a fan of Venice anyway, so there was that. But there was a lot going on.
Yeah, there was.
There was, as you say, the guy who's been cursed, the web-footed people, the cults, the art historian. There was a lot going on that I'm not sure. Like, I still don't think the web-footed thing was ever ultimately resolved.
No, I just thought it was sort of like a weird thing to take notice of.
Yeah.
I mean, people have it, whatever. But, are they all like that? I thought it was just like that one gondolier.
No, they were all like that, because then they were in the water attacking the cult people, remember?
I do, which seemed weird.
Yeah.
And then also seemed to then go unheralded afterwards.
And
remember when we all rose up and were, killing the nobility? Yeah.
And now we're done with that.
We're done with that.
And remember that time we drugged Charlie and tried to marry her off to this 100-year-old man who had put this curse in place, but now she's cool with it, so we're fine.
Understand the drug. I guess you're not supposed to, but the drug was telling her what to say. How did that work?
I don't know. It was powerful drug, I guess. I got nothing. So yeah, but I liked this one. I enjoyed it. There were a lot of plot holes.
Yeah, because I think a lot of stuff. I mean, I get that you're supposed to answer stuff at the end, but I think you should answer some stuff before the end. Because, I can understand the curse thing and the Duchess, and that's the mystery. Though I suppose it's maybe a bit obvious after a while. But anyway, it doesn't matter if it is or not. But the whole, how is he 100 years old? It was bugging me the whole time. Because, we don't think curses are real, right? In this world. Or at least in the Doctor Who universe is what I'm saying. And so I was hoping the Doctor would be a little more point that out a little bit more.
Some sort of, it was all this energy. It was the energy.
At the end.
Yeah.
But I was sort of like, why is he 100 years old?
Why is nobody asking this question? Yeah. And what's the purpose of the cult? It felt like there was just a lot going on that this could have been pared down and still made sense.
Because was his what do you call it? The
art historian guy?
Yeah, the art historian. Anyway, curator. That was what I was trying to think.
Curator, yes.
The great curator. But was he 100 years old too? Or was he like a recent addition?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I got the impression that he was probably, older, possibly even elderly, but hadn't been hanging around this whole time, just keeps hearing the story about it.
Mm-hmm. This story, in as much as it's harmless, of sort of like, oh yeah, we'll drug Charlie and she'll marry a guy, which is not great, right? For, woman role, we're just gonna, that's not good. It gets worse the next one. But yeah, so I don't know. I thought it was okay. I mean, that was sort of my thought. I mean, it's kind of weird to think we've only been like 3 serials into the 8th Doctor.
Yeah.
But or at least with this, serial or with a series with Charlie. But I've been enjoying it. But I don't know. I feel like it went off the rails here.
Yeah.
So like I said, this Stones is all right. So then we get into Minuet in Hell, and that's a thing.
Also goes wonky. Yep.
So here's the synopsis for Minuet in Hell.
The 21st century has just begun, and this is why you gave this one to me. Malebolgia is enjoying its status as the newest state in America. After his successful involvement with Scotland's devolution, Brigadier Alastair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart has been invited over to Malebolgia to offer some of his experiences and expertise. There he encounters the charismatic Brigham Elijah Dashwood III, an evangelical statesman running for governor who may not be quite as clean-cut and wholesome as he makes out. One of Dashwood's other roles in society is as patron of a new medical institute concentrating on curing the ills of the human mind. One of the patients there interests the Brigadier, someone who claims he travels through space and time in something called a TARDIS. Charlie, however, has more than a few problems of her own. Amnesiac, she is working as a hostess, interesting choice of words, at the local chapter of the Hellfire Club, populated by local dignitaries who have summoned forth the demon Marcosius. And the leader of the club, none other than Dashwood. He seems determined to achieve congressional power by the most malevolent means at his disposal.
Yeah, this one was not good.
There was a lot going on again.
Yeah, this one, in my opinion, this is a pass. It's not like dirt fire bad, but it's just like, no, not really. Which is bad because the Brigadier's in it, right? And I want to save it because the Brigadier's in it, but I would,
And how old is the Brigadier at this point?
Yeah, because it actually, if you're, I don't know. I'm trying to figure this out because this is, like you said, this would be now. It's sort of set. But I feel like if the 11th Doctor story would imply he sort of died in... Well, I guess he died around this time then, I guess. Anyway, because I'm trying to think, because, the 11th Doctor called and he was dead. But anyway.
I was also confused because they kept calling him Alastair.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that was his name.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, for one thing, I think we both enjoyed, Jessica and I, the beautiful American accents.
Oh my God, they were so bad. It was so bad. Those were bad. I really, halfway through it, I was like, should I just email Big Finish and be like...
We're available.
If you will give us work permits, we will come and do all of your American accents for you. And even work with your people and make them do better American accents, because these were bad.
Because there were sort of 2 American accents. There was sort of American accent that's sort of your flat version that talks like this. But then they did, oh boy, Southern.
Which is always a fun go-to for people who don't have our accent to try on. And it never goes as well as you think it's going to.
I mean, they were going between, like, Yosemite Sam and Foghorn Leghorn.
Yep.
Was about, I say, what we have here is...
Yes.
And I'm like, no,
yes.
no.
Everything I learned about Southern accents, I learned from Smokey and the Bandits.
Yeah, because, like, especially the 21st century, like, I could get if you were maybe doing some sort of, like, antebellum or even post-Civil War and you were trying to get away with that accent. Some sort of weird Dukes of Hazzard Big Finish production, which I would listen to.
Oh, yeah.
Which is weird, because it's all about the cars, and I'd still listen to it. But, like, the 21st century, no, you're going to be hard-pressed to find now someone who talks like that.
Yes. And again, it gets all a little mixed up. There's a mental asylum.
Yeah, that seemed like sort of the weird thing. Like, the way the plot was, like, well, I mean... I guess it's not great if you're an American listening to this, because you're sort of going like, 51st state, what? That doesn't make sense. Yeah. Also, we would not name a 51st state that.
No, whatever that name is.
Yeah, whatever that name is. It doesn't sound like a name of a state in the United States. We're all much more, I don't know. Well, they're usually a little more Native American or indigenous people based, but if you're going to do a new one, it's going to sort of sound a little bit more English, really. So...
yes. New York. New Jersey.
That's right.
There are a lot of choices here. I'm not, like, things aren't made clear. Like, why don't the Doctor and Charlie have their memories?
That is never explained. Oh, well, I guess, I mean, it's partially explained, but not really, of course. Basically, the TARDIS had a bad landing, but, they just sort of tumbled out and got...
banged their heads, and then got completely separated, so that he's at the mental institute, and she has been swept up by the police.
Well, she's been trafficked.
And trafficked, yeah. No, I was getting there. So the police swept up her as a vagrant woman, as they've been doing with apparently women, and now she is being informed that she's a silky bottom
There's
girl.
Like fourth, silky bottom.
She's a silky bottom girl.
I forget what they call it, but
who is now having to be quote unquote hostess at this Hellfire Club, and I think Jake Tapper's going to be really mad that they took the name of his book. And like the lady is like, "No, you will not be punished by us for your indiscretions, but if the men of the Hellfire Club want to punish you, they may do so at their discretion." And I'm like, this is creepy.
I know. I'm like, what am I listening to? Is there a rating for this? Do they not rate things in Britain? I would have appreciated some viewer discretion. Like, I don't know you're into a brothel story this early in with Charlie.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like mental institution versus brothel. I'm not really sure which way I'd go, honestly. But I guess it doesn't help. I mean, you can do it, but it's hard to have a story without the Doctor in it. I mean, because the Doctor's basically doesn't know who he is for like 3/4 of the story, and so it's not...
And then there's another guy who says that he's the Doctor instead of the Doctor.
Yeah.
And he's pretty convincing there for a while. Even I was going, all right, what's happening here? And there's a machine that sort of reminded me of...
The Mind Robbers.
Yeah.
We were just watching, yeah.
Yes. And so I was like, okay, well, that we're going to, regenerate that idea.
But it also just seemed weird that, there's going to be this new state, for whatever reason. I mean, anyway. Secession with Southern accent and a new state doesn't go well.
Bad choice.
Bad connotations.
Bad.
But
by the way, if anybody from Big Finish listens to this at all, seriously, we're available and looking to move back to England at any point, so call us.
But I was just sort of thinking, like, so they have this guy who's, politically, ambitious, and he thinks being made governor will get him to be president. You don't need experience to be president. But anyway, but I was like, so what's his first project? What's really going to do it? Mental institution. I'm like, what does this have to do with anything? Like,
oh yeah.
I just felt like there was a concept of like focus on the mental, but that doesn't have anything to do with being power hungry.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess even the stealing of the mines, and I don't know.
No, it was a hot mess.
He was all about serving some Lucifer, and even that was
not really
out of place.
Lucifer. Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah.
This was a hot mess. We did discover though that Charlie's dead.
Oh yeah, so they're dangling a storyline for us.
Yeah,
so
a thread.
I mean, there is and I don't know, because, I'm sure people who've listened to the Eighth Doctor probably know the answer and can spoil us. Please don't. But, I'm thinking this alternate timeline, because she said she could remember dying on the airship.
Ah.
But, of course, the Doctor saved her or something, so I don't know, there's some sort of Time Lordy,
Clara
timey-wimey.
plucked out at the last second,
Yeah.
living that 1 second ad infinitum.
Maybe she has to get returned there. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It'll be interesting.
Yeah. So this one was terrible. But yeah, I still enjoy the Eighth Doctor, but yeah, these last two were not my faves.
No,
And
I liked the Venice one. Okay, the second one.
And I like Charlie.
A dumpster fire.
I mean, it's still early days for her.
Yeah.
But I don't think they've used her quite well. Also, there was some magic in this episode. The young Becky Lee.
Becky Lee
used magic, I think, and that was never she started going whoosh, blah, 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 and threw all the men in the broth around. That was not explained.
No.
Yeah.
And her grandpa was there,
Oh.
and I don't know what he did really, other than be
Have
there.
a bad accent.
Well, yeah, that goes without saying.
Anywho, so maybe a pass on that one. But for all that, until next week, we hope you enjoy listening, reading, and watching the Doctor's adventures throughout time and space.
This is BBC Television.